Takumi suddenly finds himself in a completely different world, standing before the goddess Norn. Right away, she apologizes, explaining that his summoning was a total mistake. Normally, when the summoning spell is used, it targets random losers from Earth to bring them into this world as heroes. But Takumi's life was actually going fine, so he shouldn't have been chosen at all. Because of a slip-up by the Holy Sidonia Empire, he got dragged in with the others. Since he wasn't supposed to be summoned, Norn took him straight to her instead of sending him to Sidonia with the rest. Confused, Takumi asks if she can just send him back home, but Norn tells him that's impossible. Furious at Sidonia for using the forbidden summoning spell, she erased it completely from this world's magic system. That means no one can travel between worlds anymore. To make matters worse, Takumi technically died during the summoning, leaving him as nothing but a ghost. Panicking, he realizes he has no body. Norn reassures him, saying she'll give him a new body and bless him with powers to help him survive here. With no other choice, Takumi agrees to be reborn. Norn has him open his status screen, where he sees she plans to give him a 17-year-old body even though he's actually 40. She brushes it off, telling him not to worry about details and focus on picking a job. He can either choose combat roles like swordsman, knight, or hunter, or go for production-based jobs. Since Takumi isn't interested in fighting, he picks a production job. Norn embeds the job into his soul, adds a few blessings, and sends him off, forgetting to give him a tutorial. He crash lands in a forest and stumbles to a river where he sees his reflection. Shocked, he realizes his body is completely different, and even his arthritis is gone. Determined to make the best of it, he checks the bag Norn gave him. Inside are food rations and some money, enough to get by for now. Looking at his status screen, he sees Norn really spoiled him with powerful skills, including elemental magic. Curious, he tries it out. With just one command, Water Ball, a perfect sphere of water forms in his palm. He tests the other elements too, and each one works flawlessly. As he explores, Takumi notices a stick on the path. Using his appraisal skill, he discovers it's treat wood, a material dropped by wood monsters and useful for crafting staves or spears. He uses his modeling skill to turn it into a spear. Excited, he searches the area and finds tons of plants but quickly realizes they won't fit in his bag. Then he remembers he has an item box skill. Problem solved. Just then, he hears a scream. A young girl bursts out of the bushes, begging him for help. A massive horned rabbit is chasing her. The beast charges straight at Takumi, nearly killing him, but in a panic, he thrusts his spear forward and kills it instantly. Stunned, he wonders if it's thanks to Norn's blessing. In reality, it was pure dumb luck. Still, the system rewards him with the title of warrior, much to his disappointment since he wanted to avoid combat. The girl introduces herself as Molly. She explains she was gathering herbs when she wandered too far from her home, Boron village, and got attacked. Hearing about a village excites Takumi, so he asks if she can take him there. Molly agrees, but first points out that horned rabbit meat is delicious and asks if he plans to take it. Realizing it'd be wasteful to leave it, Takumi stores it in his item box, accidentally revealing his secret ability to her. Embarrassed but resigned, he follows her to the village. Meanwhile, the other summoned heroes appear in Sidonia, confused about where they are. A woman greets them, calling them heroes and claiming they've been summoned to save the world. She introduces herself as Empress Elizabeth, but her shady attitude instantly puts them on edge. One of the girls, Ain, suddenly feels her unique skill activate, the Blessing of Revelation. It tells her that Elizabeth is a traitor and cannot be trusted. Back in Boron village, Molly's parents rush out to thank Takumi for saving their daughter. Her father, Bunga, and mother, Martha, warmly welcome him, assuming he must be reliable to have traveled so far alone. Takumi asks if he can stay in the village since he has nowhere else to go. They agree but explain there's no inn. Instead, the villagers offer to build him a house. Everyone gathers at an empty plot of land, and Takumi contributes by using his earth magic to flatten the foundation. It's his first time using large-scale magic, and it nearly drains all his mana. The villagers are amazed by his ability, reassuring him it's fine. By the next morning, his house is finished. Using his carpentry, blacksmithing, and sewing skills, Takumi quickly furnishes it. He even tries alchemy with ores he received from the local Boron, discovering he can refine iron, silver, copper, and even rare magic iron ore. Takumi starts experimenting with his alchemy by trying to make an iron ingot. Normally, this would take a huge furnace and hours of work, but with his skill, he does it instantly. The only problem, it eats up a massive chunk of his mana. His first attempt is a success, and he's thrilled, so he keeps going, extracting as much as possible for future crafting. Hours pass until Molly comes by with dinner, only to find him collapsed on the floor from mana depletion. He nearly killed himself from overworking. Thankfully, Bunga and Martha save him with a recovery potion. Takumi promises them he won't push himself that hard again. After recovering, he continues extracting iron, copper, even a little gold, building up plenty of materials. Once his alchemy practice is done, Takumi spends time in Baron's forge, learning weapon making. His first blade turns out great, and with Baron's sheath, it's complete. His blacksmithing skill even jumps to level 40. Ready for a new challenge, Takumi asks Bunga for a few potions. Bunga agrees but warns they're only basic ones. Takumi doesn't mind, he just needs an example to create his own potions with the herbs he collected. Impressed by Takumi's initiative, Bunga even offers to buy some once the first batch is ready. Using hillcock leaves and water, Takumi brews a potion that looks brighter and more magical than the original. But he's unsure if it's safe. Testing it on himself feels risky, so he comes up with a reckless plan, building poison resistance. He eats questionable plants, nearly killing himself, then heals with magic over and over. The insane training leaves him sick, but he gains the purification skill, which could be a lifesaver later. Not long after, a massive boar appears, charging straight at him. Takumi tries to fight with his spear, but it shatters on impact. Desperate, he uses every type of magic, but nothing works. Things get worse when a giant poison spider crawls up behind him. Cornered, Takumi thinks it's over until the spider attacks the boar instead. The fight rages on, and Takumi realizes brute force won't work. As the boar charges again, he leaps into the air and uses alchemy directly on its head, breaking it down on impact. Against all odds, he wins. Exhausted but alive, he notices the spider badly injured from the battle. Instead of leaving it, Takumi heals it. Moments later, he gets a system message. He's successfully tamed the spider. Surprised that taming monsters is even possible, he's hesitant at first. But when the spider gives him puppy dog eyes, he accepts it and names her Maple. Returning to the village, Takumi proudly shows off the massive boar and his new companion. The villagers are stunned, not only at the boar, but at the fact he tamed a poisonous spider, something no one has ever done. They celebrate with a grand feast, and Takumi suggests sharing the meat since it's too much for him alone. During the celebration, Bunga pulls him aside, advising him to sell the leftover boar parts in the nearby city of Bolton. Takumi decides that's where he'll head next. Meanwhile, Goddess Norn secretly watches over him. Another goddess questions why Norn gave Takumi such special treatment, his unique body, blessings, and even a one-year head start before the other summoned heroes. Norn simply says she's doing what feels right. The next morning, Takumi wakes up tied to his bed, realizing Maple is the culprit. She apologizes, saying she just felt lonely since he's been so busy. Guilty, Takumi decides to take the day off and spend time with her, which makes Maple overjoyed. Later, Martha drops by with lunch, but the scene looks suspicious. Takumi quickly clears it up, and Martha moves on, though she notices Maple's silk is incredibly high quality. She harvests it and crafts a shirt out of spider silk. The village women are instantly captivated by the fabric, explaining that spider silk is considered a rare luxury material normally reserved for nobles. Martha asks Maple if she can produce more silk, and while Maple agrees, the process is slow and time-consuming. That means she won't have time to play with Takumi for a while. Takumi's a little disappointed, since he was finally looking forward to spending time with Maple, but he has plenty of other things to focus on. It's been about a month since Takumi first arrived in the village, and now he's planning to head to the city to continue studying alchemy. Still, leaving isn't easy after bonding with the villagers. To prepare, he visits Boron at the forge, where they craft a chest plate and a pair of steel-toe boots. Boron jokes that the boots could be useful for kicking enemies, but Takumi reminds him that his true goal is to master alchemy, not fighting. Bunga soon joins them, happy to see Takumi's armor complete, but admits he'll miss him. He knows Takumi has to move on if he wants to expand his production business. The city will give him more opportunities to sell goods and access rare materials. Luckily, a trader from Bolton is arriving in a few days, so Bunga arranges for Takumi to travel with him. The villagers are sad, but they encourage him to get ready for the next chapter of his journey. On his way home, Takumi runs into Martha, who's carrying a bucket of rabbit innards. She explains they're usually the tastiest part of a horned rabbit, but without proper equipment, they can't safely remove parasites or disease. Normally, she'd have to throw them away, but Takumi uses his purification magic to cleanse the meat instantly, shocking Martha. She warns him, though light magic is extremely rare. If people outside the village learn he can use it, it could draw dangerous attention. Takumi promises to keep it a secret, but while he's still in the village, he uses his magic to help. He builds a brick wall for better defense, installs a water pump, and makes other improvements, completely transforming the village. When the merchant finally arrives, he barely recognizes the place. After Bunga greets him and finishes trading, Takumi steps forward, ready to leave. Before he goes, he hands Bunga a potion and explains that he's already left around 100 bottles at his house for emergencies. Payek, the merchant, examines the potion and is stunned. It's a high-level potion of incredible quality. The villagers gather to say goodbye. Molly gives Maple, sleeping in Takumi's bag, a gentle farewell, while Martha presents him with clothes woven from maple silk. Deeply touched, Takumi thanks everyone for their kindness. He boards the carriage, and the villagers assure him he'll always have a home with them. As the carriage rolls toward Bolton, Payek comments on how much the villagers adored Takumi. Riding with them is also a party of adventurers. Heath, the blonde, Real, the redhead, and Bogger, the gloomy one. They're a C-rank group called Lion Fong, acting as Payek's bodyguards, though the region has been peaceful lately. Real notices Takumi clutching his bag tightly and asks what's inside. Takumi explains it's his pet, Maple, the killer spider. Shocked, the group can't believe he actually tamed such a monster. Real demands to see her, but he comes off creepy, and Maple responds by headbutting him in the face. Takumi panics, apologizing, but the others laugh it off, saying Real deserved it. Heath even jokes that Maple will probably fear humans now, but instead, she seems to like Bogger. While the others fawn over Maple, Payek pulls Takumi aside to ask about the potion. He's eager to buy more, but before they can continue, the carriage halts. A horde of goblins surrounds them. The adventurers are thrilled to finally have action and rush into battle. Real fires arrows from a distance, while Heath and Bogger charge in with their axe and mace. The fight is over quickly, and they harvest the goblins' magic stones before resuming their journey. After 3 days, they finally reach Bolton. The adventurers report their successful mission to the guild, and Takumi registers as an adventurer too, since there's no alchemist guild in the city. Hans, the receptionist, explains that as long as Takumi completes 1 quest per month, his adventurer card will stay valid. Takumi also registers Maple as his pet. With that done, Takumi heads to Payek's trading company to sell his potions, over 100 bottles of different types. Payek offers 10 silver coins for each healing and stamina potion, and 50 silver for each mana potion. That adds up to more than 7 million yen. Takumi thinks it's way too much, but Payek assures him that with reputation, he could earn even more. He suggests Takumi find a house with a workshop to support his production. Realizing he hadn't even considered living arrangements, Takumi accepts Payek's help. Payek's assistant, Thomas, shows him a property, but it's basically a mansion. Takumi thinks it's out of his budget, but Thomas insists it's affordable and comes with a perfect workshop. Seeing the potential, Takumi agrees to buy it. As Thomas leads him through the city, Takumi notices a foul stench. Thomas explains it's from the sewers. The wealthy use magical purifiers, but the main sewers don't have them. Priests occasionally clean them with magic, but most of the time, they stay filthy. The next day, Takumi and Maple move into their new home. His first project? Fixing the sewer problem. He gathers quartz and clay, shaping them with magic, then bakes them using fire and space-time magic. The process drains his mana, but with potions, he completes his invention, a modern toilet. Suddenly, Payek screams from the living room. Takumi rushes over to find him wrapped head to toe in maple silk. Maple says she thought he'd enjoy it, and while the silk is comfortable, it's still not acceptable. Payek forgives her, though, and when he uses Takumi's new toilet, he's amazed by the purification device. But he realizes only someone with light magic could have made it. Takumi panics, remembering Martha's warning, and begs Payak to keep it a secret. Payak agrees, but he's so impressed he asks Takumi to make 100 more toilets. Reluctantly, Takumi agrees, as long as Payak provides the materials. But Payak suggests he get a slave assistant, since a slave's contract ensures secrecy. He warns Takumi that the Church of Divine Light would do anything to monopolize purification magic and wouldn't tolerate cheap access for commoners. Though Takumi refuses slavery at first, his guild card suddenly glows with a verification quest. Realizing he can't do everything alone, he reluctantly agrees to visit a slave trader with Payak. At the Mulan Trading Company, Takumi wanders into the garden and sees a beautiful elf girl, who immediately tells him to leave. Soon after, Payak introduces him to Mulan, the company's owner. Curious, Mulan asks why Takumi hesitates to buy a slave. Takumi explains that in his homeland, slavery was abolished long ago, so it feels wrong. Mulan acknowledges his feelings but explains the system here. Slave owners must provide food, clothing, and shelter, while slaves follow specific contract duties. The contract also prevents either side from killing the other. Hearing this, Takumi feels slightly reassured, realizing it works more like a binding work contract with strict rules. Mulan begins explaining the different kinds of slave contracts. Debt slaves work until their debts are repaid, while permanent contracts are usually given to criminals or war captives. Most others are victims who were illegally forced into slavery by bandits. Payak suggests Takumi should pick a war slave since they can't leave without permission. Mulan agrees but wants to hear Takumi's reasoning directly. Takumi explains that as a producer, he wants to focus on his alchemy and inventions, but he also needs help maintaining his mansion and handling dangerous quests. Most importantly, because of his unique powers, he needs someone who can keep his secrets safe. Mulan understands his point but refuses to let one person handle both housework and combat. Instead, she insists Takumi purchase 2 slaves, one for domestic duties and one for battle. She then calls in Maria, a girl who has been a slave since childhood. Maria was trained in reading, writing, math, and housekeeping, making her a perfect candidate for managing Takumi's mansion. Confident in her abilities, Maria assures Takumi she can handle everything. Curious, Takumi wonders why someone so skilled hasn't already been bought. When he calls her cute, Maria blushes in embarrassment and quickly clarifies that she can only do housework, nothing else. Flustered, she blurts out that she won't sleep with him. Takumi reassures her that his intentions are pure and that he only needs her as a housekeeper. Relieved, Maria agrees to form a contract, and Mulan begins preparing the paperwork. But when it comes to finding a battle slave, Mulan claims she has no one suitable. Maria interrupts, mentioning someone named Sophia, which earns her a sharp rebuke from Mulan. After Maria leaves, Mulan admits Sophia exists but warns that she may not be a good choice due to her many issues. Curious, Takumi insists on meeting her. In Sophia's room, Takumi realizes she's the same elf he saw earlier in the courtyard. Mulan reveals Sophia's tragic past. She was captured during a war between the kingdom of Triaria and the elven kingdom of Yugur over 50 years ago. Despite being more than 50 years old, Sophia still looks young thanks to her elven lifespan. However, she suffers from serious injuries, limited movement in her hand and leg, a scar on her ears, and the loss of elemental magic. Many even believe she is cursed. Because of this, no one has ever purchased her. Takumi decides to evaluate her himself. Using his appraisal skill, he discovers Sophia's stats are actually incredible, and with her curse removed, she would be the perfect battle companion. Despite Mulan's doubts, Takumi chooses Sophia without hesitation, promising to fix her injuries and restore her abilities. Mulan, impressed by his determination, agrees to the contract. Soon after, both Maria and Sophia officially become Takumi's slaves. Back at his mansion, Maple, his pet spider, excitedly jumps on him, startling Maria and Sophia, who nearly attack her. Takumi calms them down and introduces Maple properly. He then shows them their rooms, surprising both of them since he gives them private spaces and even access to the mansion's large bath. Maria is overjoyed and Sophia, though cautious, begins to warm up to him. Later, while bathing, Maria tells Sophia she's glad Takumi chose her as well, since Mulan had refused to sell Sophia for over 50 years. For Mulan to finally finally let her go. She must have seen something special in Takumi, but Sophia remains wary, having noticed that Takumi's background records were strangely incomplete, as if he was hiding something. When they finish, they're shocked to find Takumi already prepared dinner. Maria is upset since that's supposed to be her job, but Takumi assures her it was just to make her first day easier. He even asks them to eat together, breaking tradition, and suggests they call him by his name instead of Master. Maria happily agrees, but Sophia remains cautious. The next day, Takumi picks up a special package and stops by a church to pray to the goddess Norn. She actually appears before him and explains why she dislikes the Holy Empire of Sidonia. Their Church of Divine Light acts against her will and spreads religion by force. Norn admits she gave Takumi blessings to compensate for not intervening earlier, but warns him that his extraordinary luck will soon fade and his future will depend on his own choices. Back home, Sophia secretly follows him into his workshop and is horrified to see him experimenting with poison, cutting himself and healing the wound. Convinced he has sinister intentions toward Maria, she tries to attack him but collapses from exhaustion caused by her curse. Takumi heals her hand, and in the process, his light magic levels up enough to completely dispel her curse. When Sophia awakens, she's shocked to find her injuries healed and her magic restored. Realizing she completely misjudged Takumi, she kneels before him, swearing her loyalty and vowing to serve him faithfully for the rest of her life.